Okay, welcome back for the designing video. In this designing video, I need to be as precise as possible on my drawing. I have my name on the top, so we know what I'm drawing. I made a circle. I decided on my circle by putting a ruler in my hands like this and figuring out where I would hold the fidget spinner and still be able to spin. So I found that at right around 45 millimeters or 4.5 centimeters would be a good pinch for the middle of mine. Mine will be a little bit taller on one side though, so I think that would work out about 45 millimeters. So I use that 45 millimeters to draw my circle, and I use my compass, and I set my compass at 0 and 45 so that I can set it at 40 and 45 like this. You can see that I've got my pencil at 45 and my point at 0. So that's the way I set that. And then I put my point right in the middle, and I drew around that point. I spun this around, and the pencil drew my circle just the size that I wanted. Then I went below my circle and decided to show my side view down below. Well, my side view has to be the same size as my circle, so I just drew an extended line and made the edges. Drew this. My edge had to be about 7 millimeters. I wrote that over here because that's the size of my bearings. So I've got about a 7 millimeter thickness, and so I've got all of that. This is my 90 millimeters for the edges of my circle and my side view. Okay, I'm going to add the bearing into the middle of my circle, and I'm going to do that by setting this up on my ruler. The outside of my bearing should be 22 millimeters. So I put my point on 0, put my pencil on 22, and that should be my 22 millimeters. So let me do that real quickly here. I'll draw it. Okay, so I'm going to put my point back in the middle again, and 22 is the whole thing. 11 is going to be, I only need to show half around my point. So I need this to be at 11. So 11 is going to look more like this. From 0 to just past your big 1 here. So I go to 0, and then just past my big 1 is where my pencil point should be. That should be the size of my bearing. So I'll go poke into the middle point, and I'll just lightly touch with the pencil and spin my paper around so that the pencil draws my circle. So now you see I have my circle, and that's the outside of my bearing. My inside of my bearing is 8 millimeters, so I need to use half of that and set my compass up for 4 millimeters. That is about as tight as my compass will go. So I will go ahead and put my point in the middle, spin around. Oops. Let it move. I got to hold that point down and spin my paper around it. And now you can see I have the center of my bearing drawn. Right here, the center and the outside of my bearing. And I just spun around that middle point. Okay, so I need to come down here and make marks for my bearing, but I'm not going to actually be able to see it down here, so I'm going to make dotted lines to show what's hidden inside. I'm going to do that with my ruler. With my ruler, I will find the edge and protract it down. Find the edge of the interior, protract that down, and then there and there. So I'm going to do that. I'm trying to stay straight with my lines. And when I show you this, you'll be able to tell that there's a hidden bearing in my side view. You can see inside my side view, this would be empty. These are the hidden bearing walls. Okay, so I have that. I'm also going to have my cap, and my cap is going to be a half of a globe. So I am going to need to make a bigger circle that will be the top of my cap, and it has to completely cover my bearing. And I'm going to go just a little bit bigger, quite a bit bigger than my bearing to cover that top. So of course this bearing up here would actually be hidden also, so I could change that to dotted lines by doing a little bit of erasing. My eraser and erase some spots. So now my bearing is a dotted line, and you can see the half of a ball that's going to go over the top of that bearing. Okay, so now I need to put my ball down here, and that's going to go up like this. And I'm going to use the same measurement. Since I want it to be half of a ball, I've still got my compass set at the measurement that I used. It was about 20 millimeters. That's what I used, about 20 millimeters. So now I go down to the bottom, and I'm going to set my point of my compass right upside down, but I'm going to set the point of my compass here in the middle, right here, and spin around halfway. So I got the point of my compass in the middle. I don't want it to move, so I've got to hold that tight and then spin my paper around it, and I'll stop at the top of my frame. And you can see that I built the top. That's what because I'm making mine kind of like a spaceship, okay, like an alien ship. Okay, so I have to have this globe on top, and then I'm going to need to have the bottom cap down below. I'm going to put that on, and that I could draw pretty easily. I'll do some ruler marks. I won't use the ruler for the small. So you can see I have my bottom cap now down below here. All right. So the only other thing I'm going to have are my counterweights on the outside, and they are going to be, I'm going to need to put them in very balanced position. So if I think of this whole circle is 360 degrees, and I divided that into 3 parts because I want 3 arms, then I can find the spot that would be at every 120 degrees. And I will use my compass to do that. And so, unfortunately, I can't show you down on the ground, but I'm going to set my compass, my 0 point, which actually they have a little hole there. So I'm going to put that hole in the middle. I'm lining up the hole in my circle with the hole in my compass. And then I'm going to find 120 degrees from 0. So I'm going to put a mark at 0. So you can see, even though I'm upside down, I put my hole in the center into the hole of my compass, and then right over here I marked at 0. Now I'm going to take this and I'm going to go around from 0 There's 10, 20, 30, 40, 50, 90 there. I need to go to 120 and make another mark because that's where my second bearing is going to be placed. And then I'm going to go up here. I'm going to do the same thing. I'm going to place a bearing at 120 up here, and there'll be 120 degrees in between. Let me do that real quick to show you. Alright, so as you can see, I started here at 0. I went around my compass, found 120, set my compass up again down here, went around to 120. Now all of my bearings are going to be at equal distance. So I'm going to come back into my fidget spinner and find my little bearing hole and put a little hole there. And that hole has to be on the direct line between the center point and the mark I made. That would be the center of my hole. So I'll make one there. This is getting long, so I'm going to stop it soon and let you ask any questions you have from there. I want to show you. So I made a mark in between my 0 point and my middle, right in the middle of my fidget spinner, and that's going to be where one of my counterweight holes is going to be. In here, right in between, there's a mark here, right in between those two, on my fidget spinner, and that's where I'm going to make my counterweight. Right here, there's a mark. Make those a little bit sharper. I'm going to put my counterweights in there, and then I'll need to project those counterweights down into here. I think I won't project them down here because they're all going to be hidden, and they're going to be in kind of silly looking places since I have them in, since I'm only going to have 3. So I'm going to stop right there, and I'll show you how I do the rest in class.